3 days after the trial, Commander Kale arrived at the last wall. It stretched across the frozen mountains like a scar carved into the earth. The fortress was old. Too old. Its stones had survived countless winters, but they had never faced an army like the one marching toward them now. The commander of the garrison greeted Kale without a smile. You won your freedom, only to be sent here. Kale looked across the endless white horizon. No. I was sent here because someone expects this wall to fall. Before another word could be spoken, a lookout shouted from the highest tower, "Movement in the valley!" Everyone rushed to the battlements. At first, they saw only snow. Then, black shapes emerged from the blizzard. Hundreds. Then thousands. Then tens of thousands. An army unlike anything living men had ever witnessed. The dark horde had arrived. Behind the soldiers rolled massive siege towers, catapults taller than houses. Armored beasts dragged iron battering rams across the ice. And standing at the center, a king dressed in black armor. He raised his sword. The entire valley shook with the roar of his warriors. Kale whispered, "So, the stories were true." Inside the fortress, panic spread quickly. Many soldiers had never fought a real war. Some prayed. Others quietly wrote letters they knew would never be delivered. Kale climbed onto the wall. If anyone wishes to leave, no one will stop you. Silence. Not a single soldier moved. Kale smiled. Then today, we stand together. The horns of the enemy echoed across the mountains. The first catapult stone smashed into the outer wall. A second followed. Then a third. The siege had begun. Flaming arrows darkened the sky. The defenders answered with volleys of their own. Men fell on both sides, but the horde kept advancing. As night fell, a scout burst into Kale's command room. "My lord, they're not attacking the gate." The mountain trembled. Dust rained from the ceiling as the enemy's tunnels reached the foundations of the last wall. Commander Kale led a small group of soldiers into the darkness beneath the fortress. Only the light of their torches guided them. Then, they heard it. The sound of thousands of picks striking stone. The enemy wasn't trying to climb the wall. They were trying to erase it. Kale raised his hand. Quiet. Ahead, the tunnel opened into an enormous underground chamber. Hundreds of enemy miners worked beneath massive wooden supports. One command, and the supports would burn. The mountain would collapse. The last wall would fall forever. Kale knew there was only one chance. If those beams ignite, the kingdom dies. Without another word, he charged. Steel flashed in the darkness. The narrow tunnels became a battlefield. Every step forward cost another life. At last, Kale reached the central chamber. The enemy commander smiled. Too late. He dropped a burning torch. It landed among barrels of black powder. The explosion shook the mountain. The ceiling cracked. Massive stones crashed down. Kale threw himself toward the burning fuse. Ignoring the flames, he grabbed it with his bare hands and smothered the fire beneath his cloak. The explosion stopped, but the collapsing tunnel trapped him inside. His soldiers hacked through the fallen rocks until they reached him. Bruised and barely breathing, he was still alive. Above them, the enemy launched one final assault.
The gates burst open. Thousands of warriors poured into the fortress. The defenders fell back to the inner courtyard. There was nowhere left to retreat. Cale climbed the broken steps of the central tower. He lifted the kingdom's banner high above the battlefield. As long as this banner stands, so do we. The exhausted soldiers answered with one final roar. They charged together. The fighting lasted until sunrise. When the first rays of light reached the mountains, the enemy king stepped forward to finish the battle himself. He and Cale met in the ruins of the gate. Sword against axe. Neither warrior yielded. Finally, the enemy king overreached. Cale turned aside the blow and drove his sword through the tyrant's armor. The warlord fell. Seeing their king defeated, the invading army lost its courage. Some fled into the mountains. Others surrendered.